introduce yourself in the chat. You can say where you're coming from, be it your country or your institution. Get to know one another a little bit. Right. All right, so my name is Maggie O'Donnell. I'm the project manager at the Global Consortium on Climate and Health Education, and today we are sharing a member learning collaborative. So we're appreciative that you all could come to this make update. We had some Columbia-wide Zoom issues on the first date, and we're so glad that you were able to make time to come hear from our speakers today about the ways that they've integrated climate change curriculum into their public health work. Right. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. There's live interpretation in English and Spanish. You can click on the interpretation button to access that at any time throughout the session. So today we are going to start by hearing from Nelly from University of KwaZulu Natal, South Africa. And then we have a presenter, Evans, who will be speaking with us from Quisqueya University in Haiti. And we'll have some time at the end for question and answer. I have some questions prepared, but as always, please, we encourage you to share questions in the chat because we would love to hear specifically from all of you what challenges you're facing in integrating climate into your public health curriculum. Right. So to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Nelisiwe Khuzwayo is a senior lecturer and health promotion expert in the discipline of public health medicine at the University of KwaZulu Natal. She has published more than 45 articles in peer-reviewed journals, including several in quartile 1 journals. She has successfully supervised 15 postgraduate students, both masters and PhDs. Dr. Khuzwayo is the principal investigator on a climate change project titled Integrating Climate Change and Health into the Master of Public Health Curriculum. We are really lucky to have Nelly here today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll stop sharing my screen now so you can start your presentation. And Nelly, you are muted.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for this introduction. I really enjoyed it. I was reflecting on what I've done so far in my career. Can I switch off my camera? Is it fine, or I can leave it open?
Yeah, you can go off camera. That could always make your bandwidth better.
Yes. Let me put off. Where is it now? Let me share again. Share again. Yes. Yeah. Thank you again. As I have been introduced, I'm Nelisiwe Khuzwayo from the University of KwaZulu Natal, Discipline of Public Health Medicine. Today, I will present our work on integrating climate change into public health curriculum and how we plan to scale this work further.
Nelly, could you make your presentation in presentation mode? Sorry.
All right. Sorry for that. Yeah. Yes. This is the outline of my presentation. I'll briefly give a background. Also, I'll take you through the climate change and graduate program in public health, how we develop curriculum for climate change, and I'll briefly introduce our learning outcomes. Finally, I'll go through how climate change and curriculum can be scaled up giving our example. Then I'll do the conclusion. Colleagues, I don't need to emphasize how important climate change it is to to the schools of public health. We've seen it recently, the floods. In KZN, in KwaZulu Natal, where I am based, where my institution is based, the province suffered as landslides. Recently, in Eastern Cape, one of our provinces, there were floods. So many people lost their shelter, food. So indeed, climate change is a public health concern. It is a challenge because it influences social and environmental determinants of health, including clean air, safe drinking water, sufficient food, and secure shelter. As public health educators, we are responsible for ensuring that our students are aware of these impacts and are equipped to take action. Schools of public health are responsible for training students to protect public health. It's essential. What I'm trying to say is we, as schools of public health, our main role, our mandate is to protect health of the population. So within UKZN, in the discipline of public health, we have recognized the need to include climate and health education in our academic programs in a meaningful and sustainable way. At UKZN is University of KwaZulu-Natal. I will always say UKZN. At UKZN, we introduced climate change and health content in 2018 as part of an introductory module for postgraduate diploma in public health, Master of Public Health, and Master of Medicine students. The content is delivered in collaboration with our colleagues from the discipline of environmental health. We are now preparing to offer a standalone module by 2026, allowing for more in-depth learning and specialization. A competency-based approach guided the development of our curriculum. These are the key competencies underpinning our curriculum: climate change and health risk assessment, climate resilience, health systems planning, policy, advocacy, and communication of health risk issues. If I cannot do this, yeah, okay. Competence, okay. Our learning outcomes aim to develop cognitive and practical skills. These include, at the end of the module, learners or students are expected to be in a position, in fact, to explain the mechanism by which climate change, what's this now? Students are expected to, I don't know how to remove the participants here. Let me see, so that I can read properly.
Our screen is not blocked, Nelly, so we can see it clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just do this. Our learning competencies aim to develop cognitive and practical skills. These include understanding how climate impacts health, using epidemiological data to assess vulnerability, designing health adaptation strategies, and critically reviewing policies. These outcomes guide all teaching, assessment, and curriculum evaluation. We use a combination of assessments to evaluate students' engagement and learning. These include reflective journals, a group assignment to develop a community adaptation proposal, a policy analysis essay, and short-form exam questions. These assessment colleagues are designed to foster analytical thinking and practical application of knowledge. Remember, I'm talking about postgraduate studies where we don't expect students to only recall information. We want them to apply. Yes. So our program has been externally reviewed by a panel convened by our University Quality Assurance Office, guiding us on how to structure the curriculum. The feedback highlighted strengths, but also pointed out opportunities for enhancement, including offering a standalone module and incorporating experiential and community-based learning. Generally, we are now using this feedback to inform our plans. So if I can go back to the previous point about experiential learning and community-based, you know, these are matured students, they are full-time students. What we used to do was to have case-based study where you allocate students to groups, and groups are expected to analyze a situation. But now this review, the panel suggested that we must at least incorporate experiential and community-based learning. All right, our approach to scale up is incremental. In 2026, we plan to introduce an elective standalone module. Or if you can recall, at the beginning of my presentation, I said everything is cooperated. The climate change curricula, climate change content is incorporated in a module. It's not a standalone module. But now, based on the recommendation of the committee, we are now planning to have an elective in 2026. So the other plan is that over time, we aim to make climate change and health a core module in all public health streams and extend it to undergraduate health sciences program. Additionally, we've got these comrades or students that we have trained now, they are employed, or people who are interested in climate change. So we want to develop short courses for current health professionals to build workforce capacity. These are our interests and plans. So plans can take 5 years, 3 years, or 3 months. So we will depend again on you, on your feedback as you know, how can we do this? In conclusion, integrating climate change into health education is not just timely. It is essential. Health professionals need to be climate literate to serve their communities effectively. Through a competency-based approach, carefully curriculum design, and ongoing stakeholder engagement, we are working to build a strong, scalable foundation for climate change and health education at UKZN. I thank you. So I will end here.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Nelly. I think your point is well taken that we want students to do more than just absorb and be sponges. We also want to help them understand how they can apply the knowledge going forward. I'm sure we'll have some more questions in the chat about how to do that in different contexts. So I think we have our second speaker is about to join us. So I'll have you stop sharing your screen, Nelly, and then
Yes.
I can introduce our next speaker.
He's not here yet, Maggie. He's having some problems, internet connections in his university. Let's see if he can join us in the phone, but maybe we can go ahead for the questions to Nelly, and we wait for Dr. Evans.
All right, that sounds good. Nelly, maybe if you can come back on camera, we can do a quick Q&A as we have some extra time.
No problem.
And as a reminder, you can add your questions in the chat if you have anything specific that you would like to ask. Could you talk a little bit about some of the faculty member reactions to your proposal, and maybe the challenges and the different ways that you communicated your ideas to your colleagues? I know you spoke a bit about students.
Yes. All right. So within our School of Public Health, we've got starting from my immediate colleagues from the discipline of public health, we are working as a team. As such, the review started externally, but we ended up being forced to sit down as a team and negotiate how we take this process forward. So going out now, we involved other colleagues from other disciplines, especially from the discipline of environmental health. So we are working with them because they are the one who are teaching the module or the content. So what we do is to sit down with them and review what is necessary for and appropriate for our student. We didn't have, I don't remember having challenges except time. Remember, because time, really, there's so much to cover in public health. So when it comes now to the content of climate change being part of a bigger module that introduces public health, that is the challenge. The content that we're giving is too much for the students. Otherwise, in terms of the content and challenges that were there, I didn't experience any challenges. In fact, climate change has been there in our discipline since I joined 10 years ago, since I joined the discipline, but it was offered like 45 minutes. But due to the demand of climate change, we had to sit down with colleagues and review and take so that we can have a student can benefit from the program. So basically, there are no challenges except time and COVID, of course.
Yeah, I imagine the time crunch is challenging, but perhaps building on what you were just saying, you can address Michael's question in the chat about how do you engage in stakeholders? Which stakeholders do you engage in order to incorporate climate change into public health? So I'm not sure if Michael is talking about just within the educational setting, or how maybe are you equipping your students to then be able to go out and engage a wider range of stakeholders. For example, you raised the environmental colleagues that you had to work with. I imagine there's some elements of communications and translation across disciplines that's important. Oh, you're muted.
So basically, for us, really, it's not a problem. Remember, public health is a multidisciplinary discipline. So involving stakeholders wasn't a problem because we working. So what we do, for instance, climate change and health affects it is linked to occupational health and environmental health. So sometimes we work with the discipline, with the Department of Education, so the Department of Health and the universities around our university. So it's easier because we all understand that we need to work in partnership and in collaboration. For instance, now we are conceptualizing a project to record, to document, to formally involve implementers, environmental officers, as in what content do they think that it would be sufficient? And also we are guided by the policies, government policies. So really it's I don't know how to explain it, but at UKZN we don't have those problem of involving stakeholders because we are there. We are in the same building. It's just a matter of walking to the department. Yeah.
No, thank you. I think that maybe we'll be able to give people the confidence to go forward, hearing that the challenges are not perhaps as great as they might seem from the outside. We have a question in Spanish that translates to, is the training presented as an experience based on an internationally recognized credit system? And Vilma adds, I think it would be appropriate to consider or propose it from this training space as an online possibility. So maybe you could speak a little bit about how you think about your curriculum in relation to any existing international standards, or whether or not you think it would be useful to have some international standards and credit systems involved when people are planning public health climate curricula.
So the only little information I can contribute to here is our curriculum is based on SAQA, South African qualifications. We ensure, so in SAQA there are levels of qualifications. So masters, there is a level for masters. So we are pitching our curriculum at that level. So it would be a great idea to pitch it at an international level, but that's how we have done it so far. But what I'm thinking is I will take the recommendation and go back to my colleagues so that we can see how do we take this forward based on the question and the comment that have been made.
Thank you for that. I have a few more questions. I encourage people to continue to add their questions to the chat. If you could talk a little bit about any changes you've observed in student interest. I know that you've supervised many master's and PhD students in relation to climate and health, and how you've seen it develop from maybe more of like a bottom-up perspective versus top-down from the faculty level.
Yes. No, you know what, we are using, the interest is there, I can tell you, but how do I get to know that? Each module at UKZN is evaluated at the end of the semester. So what I see, because I am coordinating that module that has incorporated climate change and health. So what I've noticed is the interest. Remember, we are working with, we've got these are the doctors, our students are medical doctors, are nurses, so the interest is there. So they sometimes propose to say, okay, and last time, if you can do this time around, when you're now teaching it next year for first year student, please add this part. Yes, the interest is there. In terms of supervision, it's difficult to tell because the way we are supervising student, we get to be allocated student is depending on the interest. So as a health promotion person, I haven't received that interest, but I know that within the discipline of environmental health, students are being supervised. There are colleagues that are specializing on climate change and health. Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Could you share, do you have any specific stories from your experience? You were referring to any times where a student has wanted to see changes in future courses, how that feedback, what that feedback was and how you incorporated it?
So yes, of course, we get those. Most of us, we do get it. Okay, let me talk about myself. I do get feedback where students maybe are complaining, like about the small venue or too much information at the same time. We try to address those logistical problems. But now, when they are now requesting more information, it's easier. You go back if like my module is taught by different experts. So what I do, I go back to if they're requesting a health promotion related intervention or information or content. So it's easier. I go back and review my slides or my lectures because really, if you can, most as a coordinator, I also sit in those modules. I also sit in the module when the experts are delivering the content. So I can tell that the lecturers or guest lecturers are reviewing the feedback because what is taught in 2023 is no longer the same in 2025. So we do review the feedback and try by all means to upgrade or to update our teaching. And again, remember in public health, we've got an approach, it's easier. We've got an approach, the public health approach by CDC, Center for the Disease Control. It is easier because every time you teach, you have to teach something that is current, something that is required by the students. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I think students are so appreciative when they can see that you are iterating each time and incorporating their feedback. I think it leads to more engaged students often, particularly in our courses. We have a question in the chat that asks, can you provide information or examples of experiential or community-based learning approaches? They're interested in understanding mechanisms used, any success stories, and once again, possible challenges in implementing experiential or community-based learning approaches.
Yeah, thank you so much. As I said, that this was the recommendation of the review panel. So experiential learning in health promotion would mean, which is quite difficult, would mean that you place people in the field, like in the clinic, for instance, or they go to if it's through the community, physically, in teams. So I know a program that I used to facilitate where we would group the students into 3 members. They write a proposal and then they actually go to the field. If the proposal is based in the clinic, they go there physically to the clinic to collect. They do community mobilization. They get those consent from the participants and permissions. Before consent permissions, they do that. That's another example. The second example is to take them to the field, like in bid front. So where there is a need for health promotion, you go with the students there and they spend time addressing health promotion issues like this, dustbin, like public, people from the public who are not using the bins, they are throwing just the rubbish outside the bin. So those are the experiences I'm thinking about. But we are still brainstorming because the thing is, for us, the biggest issue for us is that we are working with matured students. They are full-time employed. They are only allocated a 2 or 4 days, okay, let me say 5 days in a semester, like between January and March, only 5 days, in April to March, another 5 days. So it becomes complicated to us. And the unfortunate part about us is that our students are based in most of them, they are coming not only in South Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, right? So now we are still brainstorming the best way for us to implement experiential learning or community-based. But these are my ideas currently.
Yeah, thank you for those. I think it just opens up a dialogue about different potential solutions to this problem because it sounds like it's shared amongst many practitioners, how to incorporate this type of learning. We have an additional question here that maybe if you haven't experienced it directly, you could provide some advice. Michael asks, how are you handling resistance to change from environmental health experts to incorporate climate change? And he writes, I ask because public health has a small component in environmental health, but in some quarters, resistance there has been so visible and vicious. So maybe even if it's not something you've directly encountered, you could provide some advice for those who are experiencing a more hostile.
No, the thing is, as an experienced health promoter and an expert, I know that you have to work with them from the beginning. That's what we are doing. That's exactly what we are doing. We will be interviewing most of them in KZN to find out exactly how do they think, what is the feasibility of including climate change in their practice? Which curriculum, which content can we involve? How do they think they would benefit they can benefit, environmental officers can benefit from this? That's what we are doing. We know that it's important to consult and also to involve them at the beginning of the process. We are doing that now.
Yeah, that is so important. The notion that you can integrate partners from the beginning versus as an afterthought, I think is important for relationship building and also makes for stronger projects in the end.
Yeah.
So we have one question I had missed from earlier. Again, I think everyone is really hungry for information about collaboration. So this is one about what is the degree of collaboration in your work with other colleges such as veterinary, engineering, sociology, or agriculture in the climate change and health modules?
Unfortunately, I don't think it's huge. But now with the demand of climate, of One Health, we've seen the need for that. So we are in a process of pursuing that. But currently, I can tell you there is nothing. We don't have any relationship with Department of Engineering in ALSA. No, we don't.
That is an area for growth for all of us, I'm sure.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Nelly. We have our second presenter has been able to join us, so we will move to the next presentation, but I'm sure I speak for everyone here. Lots of gratitude and appreciation for you sharing your expertise and your experience with us today.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm also looking forward to learn from the colleagues and as in how to enhance our program. Thank you.
Right. So next we will hear from Professor Evans Emmanuel. Evans Emmanuel is a university professor. He currently holds the position of Vice-Rector for Research and Innovation at the Quisqueya University in Haiti. He holds a Master's of Science in the field of sanitary engineering from the University of San Carlos in Guatemala and a PhD in environmental sciences from the National Institute of Applied Science in Lyon. He obtained his habilitation to direct research diploma in June 2008 from the Chimie de Lyon Doctoral School with a specialty in urban and industrial environmental sciences, according to the common procedure at the National Institute of Applied Sciences. The research themes he explored were the assessment of health and ecological risks related to drinking water and wastewater and the impacts of climate change on groundwater quality. In 2020, Mr. Emmanuel was promoted to officer in the Order of Academic Palms of France, and he, in November 2017, received the Excellence Award of the Haitian Studies Association. He's the author of several articles and a reviewer for several international scientists. So thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Evans. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm sorry to be late because I have had an internal problem at the university, but fortunately everything is okay now. I'm going to speak slowly in order to facilitate understanding my presentation. So thank you again, thank you all for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be with you today. So in that presentation, as we know, human influence the climate rise in the world. We can see in this transparent in this slide, okay, with at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, observation made on temperature, on climate, shows that there is an increase, an important increase of climate in the world. The next one, please. The next, please. The next slide, please. The human. Okay. So specifically, according to the webinar we have today, we try to see the different effects of climate change on ecosystem. First of all, there is an increase of some disease in the world with possibility of risk for human health. Okay, according to extreme phenomenon events that flood, dry, and also make changes in the production of natural food. But the better thing to consider is the sea level rise, which is an important environmental problem for the world, particularly in small island groundwater, which has in the coast, which are in the coast island. There is possibility for marine water to integrate these aquifers and make important changes in water quality. But other thing is that the pathogens increase, like including the different vectors disease, and also changes in the cell of life. Okay, there is some heat waves in the cities, and particularly in some cities where they do not find important wind place. And then climate change constitutes today an important problem, not merely for the development, not merely for economical activities, but particularly for living things. That means in that way, it's very important to see the effects on human health in the context of One Health. The next one, please. One of the biggest problems that we have to consider in climate change is the effect on water cycle. As you know, since 1991, our planet, our humanity is in a scarcity of water. Particularly in some countries, the situation is so worse, particularly small countries, small island countries. But we may see in this slide, there are some regions where the question of fresh water it's a very, very difficult. And particularly in my country, Haiti, we find this kind of difficulties. And I suppose also in Africa, and particularly in South Africa, there is this kind of situation. I have had the opportunity in 1997 to participate to a weather conference at Durban, South Africa. And I was the possibility to visit some region where the problem of scarcity of water is a very, very, very important. The next one, please. So, with climate change, according to some research, by 2050, there will have 2.4 billion of people who will be exposed to mosquitoes and with the possibility of development of some disease related to vectors, emergent disease. But what we have to consider in that situation is the position, the localization of a country with regard to the intercontinental zone. So WHO recommends in that situation to do qualitative risk assessment related to mosquitoes in order to understand exactly what kind of action the stakeholders in public health have to take in order to prevent and to protect the population. The next one, please. Okay. Colleagues from the Institute of Research Institute for Development in France have elaborated a very interesting document. Unfortunately, he is in French, but this document has three steps very important to understand the effect of climate change. The first one is the exposure of a climate change in some region, which has like aspect the heat waves, the drought and flood, and also the level of the sea level rise. So each of them are responsible of some consequences or not sanitary consequences with a different disease, with a different mental situation also, and difficulties also to find real natural resources without hazard, environmental hazards. The next one, please. Okay, in that way, according to a paper, we have the references here. Climate change, particularly in tropical region which are so near or inside the intercontinental zone, there is a changes in marine ecosystems. The changes in marine ecosystem are related to acidification of ocean activities or effects will provoke a loss of biodiversity in marine organisms. Also, problem of biodiversity in general manner, degradation of tropical rainforest and effect on the environmental stability in this area. Also, climate change is characterized by alteration in temperature, precipitation patterns, and extreme weather events. So today, climate change, like a specific research object, call to a multidisciplinary activities, including not only people working in climate, physical climate or chemical climate, but also colleagues in public health, colleagues in zoology and biology, in order to see what we can do together in order not only to educate the population, but to see how to decrease the different effects, not only on the environment, but particularly on human health. The next one, please. In the Caribbean region, the question is very important. Why? Because the Caribbean region contains very small island, with different type of climate, okay, but also with a very important biodiversity. And there is also the question of economical activities. Is a region where there is a very important production of agricultural food or goods, but the region is so near the Earth intertropical convergence zone. This zone is the only one where we receive very much rain in the year, but also with very high temperature. That means it's a very hot zone, which are exposed not merely on La Nina, but also on El Nino. So in the specific region, we are going to see the telluric hazard and also the vulnerability to climate change. The next one, please. Inside this region, there's a country, my country, Haiti. Haiti is exposed to earthquakes. Do you remember in 2010, we have had a very important earthquake here in Haiti, and also 2021, drought, flood, and also it's one of the country which is more vulnerable to climate change. In the Caribbean basin, the Haiti is a region of risk and environmental hazard. How we may see, this is an example of drought. This is the effects of cyclone and also the flood. So what is exactly the effects of the different natural hazard on human health, and what we are doing in Haiti to decrease or to estimate and manage the different risks and also to fight against climate change. The next one, please. So, like information, 5,000 cases of malaria every year, 250,000 cases of chikungunya in 2014, 183 probable cases of lymphatic failures in 2018, outbreaks of dengue fever, Zika virus are also being reported by the Ministry of Health in Haiti. So in that situation, Quisqueya University took in 2019 the decision to create a research team of climate change, which has like a central research teams explore climate variability and its impact on hydrological cycles and continental and marine coastal ecosystem over the last millennia. Why? Because what we try to observe or the work of EPCC show that there is a good correlation between the observation we are today on climate and the result of the last millennia. So this research team has 5 axes of research. The first one is the study of reconstruction of past climate according to the techniques of model approach. The coastal impact in this axis, we try to study the variability of cyclone, global change and extreme hydrometeorological events, climate change and human health, and the last one, which is the axis taking in consideration social and human sciences, and where the colleagues work on science policy, science diplomacy, co-construction of knowledge, dissemination, and education. The next one.
Dr. Evans, we have 5 more minutes to end this session. We appreciate so much your presentation.
Okay.
We can speed up a little bit.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. The next one, please. The next one.
Okay.
Okay. This is please you may share the PowerPoint with people who are interested to have it. And then in terms of education, we organize a specific session for pupils each year. And then we organize an international colloquium or conference on education related to climate change. And actually, we try to do a coffee klima, which is a webinar directly in the school in order to student for pupils in high school in order to understand exactly. But what I would like to say about the last activities, we try to create youth club on climate sciences. So thank you very much. And then for the question, I will try to answer. You may also share my email with colleagues who want to have it in order to continue the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Evans. It was really helpful to hear your presentation give the broader context globally and then in Haiti, and then to be able to understand the exciting projects you have going on in relation to that. If anyone has any questions in the chat, they can pose those, but perhaps for right now, given the questions that were asked in the first session to the first presentation, I'd like to ask if you could talk a bit about the collaboration, the role of collaboration, either with colleagues, with graduate students, or with other types of stakeholders in building out these initiatives. and any advice you have to faculty who are in attendance today who are looking to do something similar within their institutions.
Okay, I see there is two colleagues who want to have my presentation. So for collaboration, it's one of the objectives because climate change, it's general. We have to share what we have in order to understand what we may do together. My university and personally, my team, my research team, we are very open. So this research team is a creation of two institutions. And Quisqueya University, my university, inside of the collaboration with the Institute of Research and Development of France. So this is for that we consider in the last axis the necessity to develop scientific diplomacy and also science policy in order to see how we could build together knowledge in the fight against climate change.
Thank you so much. I see there are more emails coming in. I can put my email address in the chat so that people can email me and we can forward on those requests for the presentation. So if people, and we put a link to the presentation in the chat as well, so people will have access to it via that. And if anyone has any additional questions for you, Dr. Evans, I know we're at time, they can always email me and I can send them to you in a digest form. Thank you to both of our presenters today. There's lots of praise and gratitude in the chat for sharing your knowledge and your experiences with us. We hope you all learned something today from this Learning Collaborative, and we hope that you'll join us again in September when we host our next Learning Collaborative. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much.